Sorry. Okay, go ahead.
Great. Okay, thank you again, everybody, for your time. So as Laurie mentioned, we have a technology that actually improves the quality of the asphalt off of the asphalt shingle that I'll just walk you through very quickly. I know we're a little bit limited on time. I'm not quite sure how much time I actually have to speak at this point because of the intros. So feel free to shut me down. This is about a 20-minute presentation unless you need it to be shorter. It's not advancing. Is it advancing for you now? Do I have to go up and down?
We're about 2 slides in now, and now we're back to the top.
Yeah, apparently I have to use the mouse. So that's a challenge. Okay, so the background of why CertainTeed is even interested in this. So we're a shingle manufacturer. We are one of the companies under the Saint-Gobain umbrella, which is one of the largest building products manufacturer globally. We are a public traded French company that has prescribed to a net zero 2050 carbon initiative, meaning we need to have all of our products meeting a net zero carbon platform by 2050, which a lot of, you guys know this, a lot of companies have signed on to that type of pledge. What most companies are not is, you know, a product manufacturer. So we actually melt the sand that goes into the fiberglass or into the flat glass. So it's not something that is easy to decarbonize like some of the other products are. Sorry, it's really backwards. We also have, to help us meet the 2030 goals, it also, or to help us meet the 2050 goal, we also have set 2030 goals, which are specifically guided around water, scope 1, 2, and 3 carbon, a circular economy, which is non-valorized production waste, which basically means not recycled production waste, increasing our virgin raw materials and bio-based materials, as well as having 100% recycled packaging, and all of our products being LCA or having LCAs by 2030. And materials expertise is really at the heart of what we do. We have 7 R&D centers throughout, oh gosh, this is throughout the globe, meaning that we really have strong knowledge of the materials that go into our products, and therefore we have strong knowledge of how to deconstruct them and put them back into the products again. Like Laurie mentioned, there's a lot of challenges that are known with the past use of RAS into paving. So the use of that product into pavement really developed and then exploded in the late 1990s, early 2000s, but that was without sufficient investigation into the effects of that product onto the hot mix asphalt. Everybody was like, hey, shingles are made of asphalt and paving's made of asphalt. They must be the same. Let's put it in. And so what we learned and what we know is that the asphalt that is used in shingles is oxidized. That's something that we have to do to make it a stiffer product so it doesn't, so it protects your roof. Whereas asphalt on paving is a softer product. So when you put something that's stiffer into a softer product, it's going to make the whole product stiffer, and therefore there were some failures due to cracking failures throughout. There was also people thought that a little bit, you know, you can put a little bit of something into anything and you won't really mess with it. I think about it when I make bread, I can throw like a little bit of, I don't know, flaxseed or chia or whole wheat in, and it really doesn't affect the overall product. If I replace like 10%, it makes a big difference, right? And it'll crumble, it won't fall apart. That's the same thing that happened with paving. You can replace 2, 3, 4, 5% with RAS and it will be fine. But people got greedy and they were thinking that it was an actual asphalt binder replacement. So they were replacing the virgin binder with the asphalt that was in shingles and counting that. And therefore they didn't have enough asphalt to actually bind the product together when they were paving it. So all of that happened. And then 2014 is when we really started to get good data to understand that the shingle asphalt was significantly stiffer than what is used in paving. And that's what that chart on the left is showing us. And then in 2014, the Federal Highway administration put out a memo saying like, hey guys, this is really not a great idea. You probably need to back off. So this graph just kind of shows that ebb and flow, right? We learned, well, we thought it was amazing and we had used it a lot, and then we learned the data and it really has dropped off from there. So what we're trying to do is really show the benefit of shingles as a resource. So according to the US EPA, there's about 15 million tons of shingle waste generated annually. 13 million tons of that is landfilled currently. However, we know that shingles contain pretty much the same materials as asphalt paving. It has asphalt at a different gradation or grade, softness level, has aggregate, and they have fiberglass fibers. So they're all the similar ingredients that go into the mix. So what we really want to do is recapture that and use it into paving without affecting the actual quality of the pavement. So what our process is, in a very simplistic term, is just adding a couple more steps than what was previously done before. So you still have the tear off, you grind the product down to about a 3/8 minus, and then we go through a proprietary pelletizing process where we add a recycling agent that it specifically targets the asphalt and the shingle to soften it back to a paving grade level. It's encapsulated in a hard waterproof shell or water resistant shell, making it store and feed like aggregate. So you can store it for up to 12 months and then use it into your asphalt paving whenever you're ready for it. In this slide, I know you guys are more on the C&D side, but for the asphalt producers, this is what they really care about. They want to know that they're getting a high quality binder. So we're bringing that binder back down to the paving grade that they typically use. The fiberglass fibers in the shingles reduce their rutting. We have an increased crack resistance, again, due to the fiberglass fibers and the softer PG grading. There's no yield loss with this particular process, meaning that there's no separation of the material. We grind the shingle and then we pelletize the entire product. So you're not having to do any separation or having any yield loss as you go through it. There's no heat or solvent used, which is huge. There's a lot of solvents on the market that are being used to soften asphalt right now. And some people do not, there's some age concerns that can come along with that. So there's no heat or solvents. And you can use this to add other additives to your hot mix process if you want. Hydrated lime. People put things that make it not smell so gross. So there's a lot of different things that you can add to this as well. This really is just talking to what the percentage of asphalt that you can utilize from the shingle into the paving, into the hot mix recipe. So shingles have about 20% on average asphalt within their component. So on average, 35,000 tons of shingles will yield about 7,000 tons of virgin asphalt that can be offset from the mix. Asphalt is around $600 a ton. So when you think about it, even if we're replacing 3% or 5%, which is a 1% virgin binder replacement, that's a huge cost savings for these guys. Another thing that this does, when you grind shingles, you grind them and you create a huge stockpile. But what happens is that even though the asphalt is still oxidized and it's brittle, it will reagglomerate or clump on itself as it's stockpiled. And so what this process also does by pelletizing it is it eliminates that clumping that it has when it's stockpiled, as well as it's feeding into the production plant. When it's being fed as just ground ras into the hot mix production plant, you'll see it on this conveyor here. This is our pellets, but normally it would be ground shingles. It creates these huge lumps, and as it's fed up, they actually have to have scrapers take it off, and they'll actually shut it down over time to clean it off, break up the clumps, and restart it. So they have a hard time getting a consistent product going through there. Whereas with this product, you have a consistent feed rate and no storage issues. So you store it like gravel, and then you're able to feed it like gravel. Lori, should I go through all of the testing?
I think you could probably, because I don't think most of these folks are going to know like ideal CT and all that. Maybe we could just summarize it.
Yeah, sure. So this, I'll just hit these two charts and then we can kind of pause for questions and discussion. So this is the data that I was sharing from kind of the 2014 era, where we learned that the asphalt in the shingle was significantly stiffer than what's used in paving. So the two horizontal bars are showing the positive and negative gradation temperature wise for the asphalt that's typically used. So it's a 64 minus 22. What this is showing is that the top and the bottom end of the asphalt that comes from manufactured waste, which is oxidized, was up at 158 to 0, so already out of spec. Then when it sits on a roof and becomes post-consumer, it goes up to 175 plus 41. So even further out of spec, right? Because it's sat on a roof and it's oxidized. What the third bar is showing is the testing of the grading of the asphalt in the pellet itself after it's had the recycling agent added. So we're able to bring the asphalt with either manufactured waste or post-consumer waste or a mix of both back down to the gradation of a paving grade. And then this chart, I'll just, again, it's pretty technical, but this is showing the gradation of the hot mix itself. Again, a 64 minus 22, showing that, oh, sorry. Typical recipes, depending upon where you are in the country, will include 20 to 25% recycled asphalt paving, so the millings from the previous road. And that's pretty common. So they're looking to make sure that the specification of the paving stays the same. So the first bar is with 25% wrap. The middle bar is 25% wrap plus 3% of the pellets. And the third bar is 25% wrap plus 5% pellets. So what we're really trying to illuminate with this data is to show that you can continue to keep the same recycled content that you had before and add to it. It's not a substitution of recycled content, because that's what everyone is really concerned about. They want to make sure that they're able to increase their recycled content, increase their recycled asphalt without having to offset. And the rest is just a lot of data. So this is kind of the key messages that we already touched on, but I'll just leave that up there in case it triggers any questions, and then we can pause.
Awesome. Thanks so much for sharing. Yeah, and sorry, I should have just noted quickly for everyone's benefit. On the agenda, it had this as a different presentation, but we had a speaker drop out last minute. So it says general contractor, but Lori and the folks at CertainTeed graciously jumped in for this council meeting. So yeah, did anybody from the group have questions? I'm like, I'd love to know how we can support this, especially since asphalt shingles are not recyclable in Colorado. What can we as a council do to kind of help support these efforts?
So I'm going to jump in more here and with the local group. So the biggest thing that you can do to support is dispel the myth, right? So where we are having challenges right now, as you know, we've talked to Boulder County and City, and we want in Lafayette, we want to do a pilot pave. So first step, import pellets, since we're not recycling shingles here now, do a pilot pave, right, on a road, show the validity of the solution as far as the integrity of the asphalt. But the association, the Colorado Asphalt Paving Association, just I'll just go, you know me, I'm just going to tell you like it is. They're just not willing to listen, and they say nope, no shingles in roads. That's it. They won't let us become members. They won't open up and really listen. But at the end of the day, when we started this partnership with Maury and CertainTeed, and I say, well, we're going to go talk to all the municipalities. not who they normally talk to. Well, that's because the cities and the counties, right, are paving to a spec. A lot of times that spec is coming down from CDOT for, different roads. And so we need to, like we do with anything in recycling, as you guys all know, in all avenues of recycling, all materials, innovation is coming, it's happening. And so it's here for asphalt shingles. But we need to get the folks that are out there in this industry to open their minds. So City of Loveland also is open to hearing and talking about a pilot, just like Boulder. But until we can get that association to also kind of participate, it's just a challenge, right? Because you put status quo. If CAPA doesn't like it, then we don't like it. So that's our biggest challenge, quite honestly, in Colorado. The it's being how many miles? It's been at least 3 years. And Maury, how many miles of roads have been paved up in Washington using Renew Core? A lot.
I do not know. I know
A
tons.
lot. It's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot.
So it's not like this.
Field performance data, right? We have 3 or 4 years of that, and that I kind of flitted through that data. So, but it feels like in this particular jurisdiction that you need to have a pilot pave there to prove it there. And even that, I don't know if that'll do it for Kappa. But it's funny that you mentioned that because that came up twice today at the conference. You can see I'm at a trade show and a conference because of everybody walking behind me. And it came up twice today as we were talking about roofing recycling.
Mm-hmm. So Emily, to answer your question, and Megan's and Anna knows, everybody here on the call knows, if Recycle Colorado as an organization can reach out to CAPA and say, hey, let's talk about it. We had Brandon Sand and Gravel. Most of you guys know them, local, large HMA producer. They actually, very open-minded, worked with them in the past, took the pellets in and did their own internal testing with great results in different mix designs. And so it's not like we're starting from nowhere. We just need that open door to get people to start and listen. And CDPHE knows that this is our first step. We want to do a pilot. They're not going to lift the recycle, call it a ban, I guess, on shingles without some type of proof. So another reason for a pilot.
Where are you at with getting those pilots running, and like how long would a pilot need to, so you pave it, but do we need to prove it for a year? Like what's that time frame? Both start setting up pilots and then proof of concept.
So Maury, jump in if you want. So when I spoke to the people, and the people at CAPA, we know them and they'll talk to us. And there's certain tests that you can run after the paving is, it's not laid. What somebody just told me the other day. I'm going to come back to it because there's certain terms now that I've learned from all these HMA guys that you don't lay asphalt, you place it. You place it. After you place the asphalt, there are some tests that they can run, right, for the integrity and all of that. We don't have to wait 10 years. But truly, the true test for asphalt is time, right? They've done roads with another partner of ours down in Pueblo, and they pave one side with the solution, the other side without it, for regular daily traffic, and then watch how it performs. But our challenge, Emily, is, so say for Boulder, for instance, if you use different HMA producers like Martin Marietta or Schmidt or whomever, is Megan and I reached out to you, they won't talk to us because they're members of CAPA. I'm just going to tell you the real politics. They're like, nope, they just said no, so forget it. Is getting the cities and the counties to help us get to those folks and say, hey, we're Boulder, we're whoever, we use you as a vendor. We want you to entertain this, right? And at least listen, and let's talk to the mechanics and, the technology of it. So that's really the help that we need.
I just would like to say, please keep reaching out to me, and I will keep working on those connections as well for Boulder.
Okay, appreciate it. Yeah, I know Megan's working on the county with us. Just get us somebody at Martin Marietta that will actually talk to us, right? I mean, we can call them up, but you guys know that's not the same as having the city say, hey, we want you to look at this.
Hey, Lori, I got a question for you around the ban. Are you fairly confident that CDPHE would lift the ban on shingle recycling if you see the pilot project? Or is there any benefit of having our council do outreach or education to start working almost simultaneously on you're working on the pilot project, and then we need to start putting pressure to get this ban lifted, because obviously it's going to take a while for that to happen, and then the collection of the shingles. Like, is there a scenario where maybe the pilot project doesn't work and we still want to lift the ban so that then we can process, but maybe ship to Kansas to make the roads?
Oh, yeah, I don't know if we want to do that. It's really heavy. But but I like it, right? If you guys won't do it, then we'll go next door. So here's the protocol. Here's what I've pitched to Wolf and those guys, and they nod. They're like, you're going to do it anyway. So pilot program to prove, pilot pays, right, to prove that it works. Say that, and then I respect it. I watched Shingle Mountain off I-25, right, at 70th, and I saw them having to clean that up. So what I said to them is a typical or a regular size Renew Corp plant can do as much as you want, as big as you want to make it, but it's 30,000 tons. So you don't just lift the ban willy-nilly like all of a sudden. But we prove the pilot, then you let us do an industrial one plant, and all we do is take the shingles from just Boulder County, probably not Denver so big, although we've talked to them and they had interest, but again, they get stuck in that history. And then you prove that that works and that the throughput is good and that we do not have, a stockpile of shingles before they just release a ban. So it's not really a pilot next phase, but it's like a controlled environment, right, for production.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
But yeah, do we start now? Yeah, we start now because it's not that hard for them to lift that, the Solid Hazardous Waste Commission, but we have to show them, proof that it will work and that we won't have a stockpile.
Okay. Yeah. So that's kind of the other question is, how hard is it? So it's not that hard. It's just a matter. It's not like a vote or.
Well, it's not like in statute. Yeah. Right. It's a rule. And so they deem them, not eligible for recycling. And they could say, okay, well, we're going to lift that for this county, or these municipalities served by this plant. So our job as CertainTeed Colorado and then the CEDC as a project is to move through these phases, right, with CertainTeed, and get this done. And with the cities, and we talk to Loveland and Emily and Megan and the county and say, who are receptive, they're receptive, but then what happens is we hit that stopgap with the HMA producer that is just afraid, essentially. But they don't, like, as Maury showed in those slides, they don't have to alter their setup, right? They can use the same feed belt and all that as they do for their aggregate. So they just shift it and put the pellets on there.
Okay. And sorry, Evelyn's had her hand up for a bit. I jumped in front of you.
No, it's all good. I was hoping you would. So my two quick questions. One, can you take any type of shingles?
By type, do you mean manufacturer?
Any manufacturer, yeah.
Yep.
Cool. That's great. And then my second question is around, like, you talked about how this process is only happening in the East Coast right now. Are you planning to license it? Is it something that Saint-Gobain owns? What's the plan there?
Yep, so it is. It's only in the Pacific Northwest right now. We purchased the intellectual property a year ago, 2 years ago. Time is going. So what Avi and I are very much focused on is that we are licensing the technology either to C&D recyclers or to hot mix asphalt producers, depending upon their size, so that they can either produce and sell to other hot mix asphalt producers or use for themselves. And we're doing that mostly in the mainland US. We're not really focused on Canada or Mexico or other parts of the world right now.
So this pairs also with C&D, as you guys know, like Mark said, C&D recyclers, HMA producers, and little fun tidbit is that the CEDC is actively working our next project on 2 C&D recycling centers here just in the Denver area, which we thought we'd never see, but off we go.
This is exciting news. Yeah. Any other questions or comments? I do have one follow-up. Has the cost of licensing been an issue? Like, do you have anyone outside of CertainTeed doing this process yet?
Yeah, so we are not doing this internally anywhere.
Okay.
So CertainTeed will not ever own these plants and build them
Yeah.
that I can imagine right now. So we are strictly licensing it. Um, this is also not a money making function for CertainTeed, right? Like we know that recycling is hard to stand up, and so from a licensing cost perspective, no, it has not been an impediment to anyone because we are not charging very much for it. Because really, I mean, the goal is that the product is being used at the end of its life and then going back into itself. It's not. This is not. I mean, I will never get paid bonuses based on how much this makes, because it's just not our goal. I really want more people to do it, right? It's not to be a venture for CertainTeed.
Let me add one more thing too, just for those folks who are local. We talk about CDPHE. The other, our other role as Circular Colorado CEDC is, we've done it also already for gypsum, is we'll work with CDPHE on testing protocols. So although they do not use asbestos in the making of shingles anymore, and yeah, we shake our head at people, that's their biggest concern. However, we still have already put those protocols and testing protocols in place so that everyone will be, be happy. And not just asbestos, but whatever would come in end of life shingles, right? Very different from manufacturing waste. So much so is like you wouldn't take shingles that would come off like 2-layer roofs. So way back in the day, we don't see much of this here because we have so much hail that everyone has had 5 new roofs already. But they would install shingles over an old install.
I think Anna's seen like a 7-layer roof. So
we won't take that one. Yeah.
Sorry. Anecdotal. I just want to say thanks to everyone. We're going to switch over. And Lori, please let us know as a council if there's anything, especially with the policy workshop that happens at our summit meeting, like if there's any ways that we can kind of continue to bring light to this, to the greater Recycle Colorado group as well. Would love to.
Appreciate it. I'll probably reach out to you with a draft letter to CAPA to see if we can't sign that and ask them and request them to please, at least embrace the knowledge, and see what they think from there.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Appreciate you guys. See ya.
Awesome.
Thanks,
Okay.
Lauren. Thanks, Opni.
Thank you.